Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Not Funny Guys Presents Red Dwarf Rewatch. I am your host, Dr. John, and we are now cruising in the back half of Series 8. A little disappointment last time with Cruddy TV, not their strongest work, but get back to a little bit more individual hijinks and stuff. But we have a two-parter coming up here, so this time we are looking at Episode 6 of Series 8, Pete, Part 1, directed by Ed By, written by Doug Naylor. This one was released on the 25th of March, 1999. Rimmer and Lister are not having a good time. They are frequently in and out of the captain's office for many different offenses. Each one seems more to annoy Hollister, Captain Hollister, even more than before he finally snaps and throws them in the hole. A very sparse, basically oubliette type prison place, and if you don't know what an oubliette is, you should look it up. It's terrifying. But it's inhabited by an insane Welshman. Jeez, what the heck, man? Called Birdman, and his pet sparrow, Pete. Meanwhile, the others are returning from the Canaries, a mission where they find a time wand, that device that manipulates time. And this is where the hijinks ensues. So, as I said, we open on Lister and Rimmer being marched into Captain Hollister's office. Apparently, they've been insulting the warden, Mr. Ackerman. They've been pranking him. Apparently, they gave him truth serum in the form of like aspirin, and then he ended up like going over the top, showing up late in a Batman outfit. Don't know what that's about. They didn't complain about Ackerman to the captain, and this is why they pranked him. And he said, he's a horrible person. They start listing all these things that he's, been a horrible. Particularly, apparently, he beat up the cat on like day one for complimenting his niceness, and he keeps trying to insist that he's nice. Punishment for Lister and Rimmer is that they and a group of their selected comrades, mainly the rest of the crew, so that's Kachansky, Cat, and Crichton, are going to play the guards in basketball. And basically, they're getting destroyed. And I think this was the point. But apparently, Lister and Rimmer have spiked their drinks with a male, shall we say, enhancement drug. And so they walk on the court and they're all shrunk down, like trying to hide their erections. And then they come back from a 48-point deficit to win. They get called back to the captain's quarters again. His office after the game. Rimmer is still doing that ridiculous version of the salute. And the captain reveals that it took him 7 hours to lose it. He could not remove his shorts. So they're in trouble again. Now they get assigned spud duty. Back in their corners, Rimmer is sort of playing himself in checkers. Lister is doing a connect the dots puzzle. And I want to just sort of comment here that it's really interesting to see that we see Lister and Rimmer kind of working as kind of a pranking duo. I always thought they had kind of a strange sort of, well, Rimmer is not and Lister's not, but they sort of had the same dynamic of pranking each other that, say, a Jim and Dwight from The Office kind of thing. But it's always interesting to see when those two would team up, and now we're kind of seeing a version of this. And they even have a weird conversation about planes and how real estate over where planes fly is very cheap because apparently they let the dump go straight out. And this is Kill Crazy's idea. And it's like, no, it's about the noise and all that stuff. But apparently the Scudders have been working with Lister now. Because as Rimmer gets this awful plate of food, they sneak him in curry, poppadoms, and like lager. So he's got his own system. He's Red from the Shawshank Redemption now, apparently. Rimmers wants to have the Scudders get them some good potato peelers when Lister says, wait a second, why don't we get one of those programmable viruses from some floor? And it'll do the work for us, peeling everything. He then goes to use Morse code on a pipe to spread the word or get this, something out there. And apparently he got the wrong number. He got laundry. Yeah, that's fun gag. Meanwhile, the Canaries are on a mission. Kat, Chris, and Crichton are out there looking for another team that went missing. Crichton is giving them this whole thing about safety when they literally abandoned him. But they finally do come upon the party, and they're frozen in like an alternate timeline. It's this whole idea that time can be moving at different time streams. Holly initially thinks that they're mimes. Found some time freezing device. They start unlocking them with like some buffering lag. That's pretty funny. They find out they can stop time with the device. Even reverse age, because at one point Crichton turns Kachansky into like kids, and then into like 70s clothes and all kinds of stuff. It lets you mess the timeline so many different ways. Kachansky wants to unfreeze the other canaries, but make it so that they forget about finding the device, so they can bring it back to the ship and use it to basically speed through their time and get free. Lister and Rimmer go on their spud duty. There's a massive amount. It's like fill the cargo. They use this sort of virus that the Scudder, they have a little handoff. Another one of those like prison slick things where you go, yeah, secret handoff. They start working, but now instead of just taking off the skin of the potatoes, it starts taking off their clothing and their hair until they are bald. Naked and bald. And they're escorted back to the captain to explain themselves. Rimmer, in fact, even turns on Lister at one point. Rimmer then does this thing. They've not been decontaminated, but he shakes the captain's hand. And it starts on him. He finally, like his loss, he gives them 2 months in the hole. Meanwhile, the other little group of Crichton, Chris, and Kat have been making this device work for them so they can skip through their sentences. Kat gets bullied, and Crichton uses the time one on him and the others. At one point, Lister and Rimmer are now in the hole where they meet our friend, Birdman, the crazy guy. The Scudder cuts a hole for them to break out. They find the whole crew frozen. And they meet up with the rest of their little team in the cargo hold, but they're having a little banquet where they've, made some time for themselves. They even use the wand to give Lister and Rimmer their hair back. Little bird Pete dies now, though. The shock. And they're like, wow, we should bring him back. So they use the time regress on him. Unfortunately, they went too far. Pete is now a dinosaur. And Pete, now a dinosaur, eats Birdman. And they run, leading us to our to be continued. So, come back next time for Pete Part 2, where we find out where this mayhem ensues. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Write us, tell us some things in the comments. You can comment on the video, but you can also write us directly in the ticker and in the description below. You can reach out to us on our social media, but our email, notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Write us, tell us ideas, things you want to see, suggestions. We are always open and listening. And if you email us, my not funny colleague Casey will have to read it, and it might even get read on air. But where would you hear him reading that on air? That's why you should check out our other Not Funny Guy material. So we have our main podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels, where we talk about movies, where we are ever slowly creaking our way to the final two Jurassic Park films, and then we'll see what happens next. So if you like movies, that's where we go. Do TV over here on the YouTube. And then we have, if that's not your cup of tea, we also have Not Funny Guys Presents Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where my Not Funny colleagues Casey and Eric watch and talk about horror movies and wrestling, mainly WWE stuff. So you can check that out. And coming back very soon, in fact, I think we'll be back next week, we should have the return of Season 2 of Not Funny Guys Presents Thinking About Thinking, with myself and Dr. Kristen, our Not Funny gal, talking about things, and we talk about culture, AI, all that fun stuff, things we're thinking about. So you should check that out as well. And coming soon also will be our Pornhub 2025 year in review. You can also check that out as well. We have a fun time just looking at how weird we all are. So, but until then, don't be a smeghead. Keep it not funny. I'll see you next time. I'm just shortening that. I don't want to do that every time, but I have to. I'm legally, contractually required to.